Welcome to 365 Christian Men, where every day we aim to inspire and encourage with real-life stories about men. June 4th, Hans Egede. 700 years after Eric the Red colonized Greenland, Hans Egede stood staring west. He knew Eric the Red's colony had survived into the 1400s, but no word of survivors had come to Norway, not for several centuries. As Egede stood looking toward Greenland, in his spirit he heard a voice tell him to search them out, to pastor them. It took him 13 years to get ready. When he left his home to bring the gospel to Greenland, he brought his wife, their 4 children, and a year's worth of provisions. On this date, in 1721, Egede first spotted Greenland from the ship.
Even the walruses know enough to trust God. Blue and white monster icebergs, some as big as a whole town, shifted in the raging water and threatened any ship that dared approach the coast of Greenland. Through the iceberg maze, the ship called Hope maneuvered, and the ship's captain got more and more agitated at the icy labyrinth that churned ahead of him. And the captain got more and more agitated under the long strain. And the captain got more and more agitated at the man who'd spearheaded the voyage, Hans Egede. Storms beat them about. Contrary winds drove them back. The ship rolled and tossed on the mighty waves and was well nigh dashed in pieces. The sailors cursed, and the shipboards moaned, and Captain Kitterick stormed into the stateroom where Hans Egede, his wife Gertrude, and their 4 children sat with a small group of passengers bound for Greenland. "Pastor, it's all over with us," he bellowed. "The cargo boat has signaled she has run against an iceberg and is in danger of sinking. I fear the same will happen to us. You have brought us into this strait. Now up with you and give directions how we are to extricate ourselves, if you are indeed a man of God." Kitterick's anger was clearly aimed at Egede, who had been comforting the women and children in the stateroom instead of joining the sailors on deck. Egede's courage was clearly being challenged, but he knew only one pilot who could steer the ship to safety, and it was neither Kitterick nor himself. So he left the passengers with a promise. "The Lord is near to all who call upon him, to all who call on him in truth. He fulfills the desire of those who fear him. He also hears their cry and saves them." Psalm 145, verses 18 and 19. Then Egede dutifully followed the captain back to the deck. The mountainous bergs dipped and jabbed at the sky, a serious menace. At any moment, the icebergs could crash together and crush the ship. But Egede saw a moving table of ice, and on it, a herd of walruses relaxed peacefully. It was just like when the disciples were in a violent storm and Jesus slept in the back of the boat. The disciples cried out, "Master, don't you care that we perish?" But Jesus knew God was to be trusted. Now these great bulbous creatures seemed oblivious to the storm. God filled Egede with a settled confidence that he would see their ships through the storm. 36 hours later, the gale winds stopped, and the stars became visible again. But where was Captain Kitterick? Hours earlier, he'd left the crew to escape into his flask of whiskey, so he was in no condition to appreciate the stars. Egede had gotten up from his prayers, and he was thankful. Soon the ship landed safely on the shores of Greenland. God could be trusted. Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." John 14:27. Have you ever been tossed into a situation that tried your faith? Consider how God might be preparing you for a greater mission. Even the walruses know enough to trust God.
Thank you for listening to today's story. Every day of the year, our hope is to inspire you with real-life stories of faithful men who have gone before us. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Join us tomorrow for another story at 365christianmen.com.